Hi everybody, my name is Brian Chick. I live in Toronto and I work for a group called Crisis Camp. What Crisis Camp is, it's a group that meets in cities around the world to use their technology skills to help relief efforts in disaster areas. We've done work with the World Bank, the US Forces, the United Nations, and a whole bunch of other relief organizations trying to offer help in areas where it's needed. We have groups around the world working asynchronously, which means sometimes we're not all working on the same thing at the same time. Sometimes projects are passed off from group to group, city to city, and it could be over the course of several weeks that a project and the information for that project gets passed from Boston to Toronto to LA to London to Bogota, Colombia. There are a lot of things going on here. So, our biggest challenge as an organization is keeping track and keeping our information organized. So if you're hoping to volunteer for Crisis Camp, we'd love to have you, but you might want to get yourself familiar with some of these free online tools. And they're not just exclusive to Crisis Camp. These are big, popular Web 2.0 tools that are really changing the landscape of the internet right now. Things like blogs, wikis, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Flickr, Skype. These programs are really in use by everybody, and we're just one group taking full advantage of them. So sit tight. We're going to walk you through the basics on how to use each of these things. First thing we're going to start with is a blog. Now, blog, short form for weblog, but basically it's a website that is frequently updated and runs basically articles like a news feed. This is the Toronto Crisis Camp blog, and it's run on a system called WordPress. And WordPress is a really popular system for running a blog. It also, if you want to, you can host your blog on a WordPress site, or you can download the software and install it on your own site, which is what we've done here. So this is living on Left Button Solutions. They're one of our sponsors, and they host our blog for us. And you see, it's just a series of articles, but we're going to show you how to actually log in and make a post. So under Meta, we're going to hit login, and I have an account, and my name's Brian. So if you start working at a crisis camp, they're probably going to give you an account to work at one of these blogs, if that's going to be part of your job description. Let's see if I can remember my password. Oh, over. That's better. Okay. So basically, if I was going to add a new post, I would just go up to the button here where it says New Post. I could start writing a post saying Crisis Camp TO meeting April 30th. And I could come down here and saying we will be meeting at the university on April 30th. Started at 10 a.m. So I could just go ahead and click publish that, or I'm going to preview it. And then that's what it's going to look like on my page. We'll be meeting at the university on May 30th. We could start at 10 a.m. That's not really a terribly fascinating post. And what is great about WordPress and a lot of these other blog programs is that you can embed material from things like YouTube and Flickr and from other social media sites. So if I open a new tab and I go to YouTube, if I could type, and I search for Crisis Camp, I'm sure there's something. And I want to grab this video from Crisis Camp, Colorado. I'm not actually going to watch it. Paste that for a second. But down here, there's an option for embed. So I can grab that code, object width 480, blah, 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 blah. Right click, copy that. Go to my WordPress blog, and then under the HTML tab, because this is special code that the web browser needs to interpret differently, so I'm going to click on HTML and then paste it, right click, paste. And now I have that YouTube video living right in my post. So if I preview that, it's going to look a little more interesting. So we want to use a lot of these multimedia things like YouTube and Flickr to enhance our blog posts, if at all possible. And all of this stuff, the glory of it, is YouTube, Flickr, blog sites. Most of the stuff we're doing here doesn't cost anything, so there's really no barrier to what we can do. So the next thing I want to show you guys is wikis. And the Crisis Commons wiki is really where we share the majority of our information. Crisis Commons, if you don't know, is the organization that oversees all of the crisis camps. So Crisis Commons, if you go to crisiscommons.org, has a wiki link right here at the top. And I'm going to click on that. It's going to take me to something that looks a lot like Wikipedia. And it's a lot like Wikipedia because it's built on the exact same software, and that's called MediaWiki. And there are other kinds of wikis, but basically what a wiki is a shared knowledge base where anybody can go in, create a new page, edit an existing page, and contribute to the shared knowledge base. So the great thing about them is that they're editable, but they're also searchable. So if I was, for example, looking for something about Toronto, I could look at the Toronto page and learn about what's coming up in my city and what projects we're working on and where to park and all that. But one thing I noticed right away is that we're having a meeting this week, and it's at a place called Mickey Finn's. And I happen to know Mickey Finn's very well because it's my favorite bar. But it's spelled wrong. It's Mick E. Finn's with a Y. And it's not actually on College Street. It's at 45 Carlton Street. So all I've done there was go in, I hit the edit button, which is right, there are edit buttons all over the page. I can edit this particular section by clicking on this edit button, or that particular section by that edit button, or I can edit the entire page by clicking on the edit button at the top. And now, you'll notice that the formatting is a little bit different, but using these buttons, these quick links at the top, you can turn that into an image, you can turn that into a link, you can make things bold or italics by using the buttons at the top. So I'm just going to go back and not change anything, but you can see that the changes I've made, now it says Mickey Finn's on Carlton Street, and that's the right information. So that doesn't just apply to the Toronto page, but if I go back to the main page, there are a load of projects. There are a load what we need, news and updates, and so on. Update on earthquakes in China and the volcano over Europe and all that stuff, and what Crisis Camp is doing. So each project has its own page. So if you're asked to do any work on a project, you'll need to be able to find it and learn how to edit that page. Because basically what we want people to do is update what they've accomplished that week, so nobody's duplicating efforts, and so we can make smooth transitions handing off one project from one guy to the next. So that's the wiki. Again, searching and editing are the two big things there. We have a projects link if you want to see what all the projects are, and project master list, all the projects we're working on, or all the projects ever. And if you were working on any of these, the Haiti RSSV challenge, I'll get more on that later. Click on that, and then you could start updating what you've accomplished on this particular project just by hitting the edit button.